So once upon a time, we took a kid's book and turned it into a junk journal treasures. So stay tuned and let's see what we can do with all these yummy images. Hey guys, it's Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So it's been a while since I've played with the children's book, but I thought let's come along and have some fun with this one. So we're going to just run through some little ideas that you could do with your children's books. So I'm going to take this page first. Now, these tiny images, at first glance, you know, you maybe kind of think, oh, they're a bit pointless. You know, what can I do with those? The go-to for me would be definitely use these for paper clips. Now, personally speaking, I would probably back these onto something. So I've got some book page here, which I'm going to be using quite a bit in this video. And it's just so that I'm making these into something a bit more substantial, so that they're sort of going to then have a bit more impact when we come to use them. So, for example, I've got obviously Humpty Dumpty here. I would just tear him out like that. Okay. Now, I personally, like I say, would back him onto some thicker book page, so, or some other book page, not necessarily thicker, so that then I can glue him down with maybe some hot glue or something, or, you know, just certainly so that he's got a more robust, thicker appearance. In his very flimsy book page, I just fear that he's, you know, he's not very substantial. He's not going to really, I'm not saying not show up, but he's not going to kind of have any kind of impact really. So what I would try and do is probably then pop him on maybe 2, so he's much thicker. So I'll just go around again, just glue that down like that. Okay, whoops, like that. And then, I mean, I really like the torn edges. You could try and fussy cut him. He's pretty tiny and he would be pretty, you know, tricky to fussy cut. So personally, I would just leave him as a torn image. I mean, I like the torn image look anyway. So for me, that's, you know, that's not a problem. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely cut him out. I mean, he is very tiny, but like I say, this is really, you know, this particular one, we're just doing ideas for these tiny sort of images, which you often do tend to get on like the index page and things like that. So that's him there. Just ink him up so that he's got a bit more about him. Like that. Okay. Now, obviously mine's quite flimsy because I've only just that second glued him down. So he's not, you know, he's not particularly thick or robust at the moment. It's got to be said. And then I would just take some thickish paper. So I'm just having a look to see what I've got here to the side. So I've got this one. Decide which way he looks best on. So I think I'm going to do him on this one. Now, as it happens, this is going to just fold in half like that. Okay. So very, very quickly, we can then make a little paper clip from this. So I'm going to just pop a paper clip in, whoops, in there, like that. Now, depending on sort of the size that you want him, I mean, he might be kind of still a little bit on the small side for that base. So I'm going to just slide my paper clip across a bit, and I'm just going to trim that down a little bit more. Like that. Now, I quite like using the kids' books because I think you can be very playful with them and get away with kind of things that maybe ordinarily, you know, I feel that you couldn't necessarily get away with. So we're going to put him on, and then, oops. Now, this is hot glue, which I am just doing because it's very quick. And I just want to make sure that this is, whoa, glued down very quickly. Because obviously I'm doing a video, I don't want to be faffing around for a long time and then it not gluing down. So you don't have to use hot glue, but I do find hot glue very beneficial for things like paper clips. So like that. And then I would try and add a bit of a sort of fun element to this. So I'm going to just take, ooh, if I can find now, where would Humpty Dumpty be? Oh my goodness. You guys can probably see it, and now I'm struggling to find it anywhere. Oh, come on, he must be somewhere. Maybe he's on the other side. Oh, come on. Am I just being completely blind? Can you guys see where it is? Oh, don't tell me he's not on here. He must be on the other page. Oh, there it is. Honestly, I thought, well, that's really weird. I can't see it anywhere. So I would take Humpty Dumpty from the index as well. Again, just tear it because I like that torn effect. And, you know, could do the same again. Put it down on the book page to make it a little bit more substantial. Okay, oh my goodness. So, like that. And I might do it twice, just like we did on that first one as well, just so it's, you know, really nice and robust. So I will just cut this down here so that I'm getting my glue in the right place, because obviously this one's pretty tiny. Like that. Pop a bit more on. Like that. Okay. Squish that down. Like that. Okay. And then get rid of these. And then cut this out. Oops. Like that. And then, yeah, like I say, I would try and add something a bit playful on these because, you know, they are taken from children's books. So, I mean, they've obviously got a playful vibe going on them in the first place. So I'll just ink around here. Like that. Okay. Just ink up the little title that we're going to have on there. So maybe something like a gingham or a polka dot I always think is pretty good for kids things. So I'm just reaching in my little ribbon box. Something like this gingham. Now, I mean, it's got to be said, it's not really the right colour. Let me just see if I can find any better colour. Hold on. Okay, well, I'm pleased that I did stop and search, because I thought, well, I must have some, you know, better sort of matching blue gingham ribbon. I love gingham, I have to say. Really think it's very sweet. So maybe have, like, you know, some streamers coming out or something like that, depending on where I put this. So just going to glue this down on the back of here. Oops, sorry, I'm dragging in the tissue there. Always have a tissue or a dried wipe for mopping up. So there we go. You can just pop that down like that, just to get it stuck on the back there in the first place, and then just snip that out. Okay, like that. And then could maybe have a little bit of this up the top. Now, I'm not going to probably make a very good job of ruffling this, but I'm going to give it a go. So yeah, oh my goodness, fingers crossed. Obviously this is going to be tricky to ruffle because it's, you know, it's going to be very thin. It's a very skinny ribbon. And yeah, I could end up burning my fingers here, but we'll give it a try. Okay, so just like we do with the sari silk, but obviously with the ribbon instead. I could have just done it flat, but I think the ruffle looks a little bit cuter. And then we can have that like that. Now, I personally always like to have a little bit of lace. So let me just see what colours I've got. So could add a little bit more of the blue to bring in the blue. Only need a tiny bit because obviously it's only tiny. So yeah, I mean, I always just think that kids' books, you know, they are an opportunity to grab out like all of your older supplies. If you were, you know, maybe a scrapbook or anything like that. I have loads of colourful things from those scrapbooking days. This is your opportunity, I think, when you do things from children's books, to grab out all of those old bits and play around with them. So like that. Okay, very cute. And then here, just put on Humpty Dumpty going across there. Again, just going to do this with the hot glue. Oh, sorry if you can hear the dog. Obviously the postman is here. Just think that poor postman. There we go. So cute. And what I was talking about being the, you know, the opportunity to grab out some of your older supplies. So I've got here, I mean, these aren't old supplies as such, but just got this bright flower. So you could have something like that on there, which would look quite cute. Or I have these. So maybe some of you have these types of flowers from your scrapbooking days. So just see if I've got any in the right sort of colours here. Honestly, I absolutely love these types of things. Oh, right. So I had these mulberry flowers, which again, I used to use these a lot in mini albums and things like that. So I like to use these now by just pulling them apart and just have something like that on there. There we go. How yummy does that look? Pop that there. And then could maybe just have a little centre. I did have some pearls here somewhere. Okay. So I'll just take one of these. This might be too big actually now I'm looking. Might swamp it. Oh no, it's okay. So, I mean, it looks fine. Not finished off, you know, not with a not with a centre, but this centre definitely looks very cute, doesn't it? So like that. I mean, just how cute does that look? Absolutely love it. So that's kind of, you know, ideas for some of the very small images from your children's books. You could just make little paper clips and things like that, because obviously they may be too small to actually make pockets and things like that with, you know, they just wouldn't really kind of show up at all. So then other ideas, if you've got something like this running down the side edge of a page, this would be absolutely perfect for something like a belly band. So again, just going to sort of tear around it. Now, I'm going to just try and tear it down the whole side. Obviously, I'm going to struggle with this little creature thing. So I'm just going to sort of like tear around, but missing that. So like that. Okay. Oops. Like that. Okay. And then what I would do is exactly the same, in that I would, you know, robust it up by putting it on some book page. And to be honest, because this is quite flimsy book page and also flimsy children's images, I think putting them on twice, although may seem a little bit like overkill, I think is quite a good method to use, you know, because you do want it sort of having a substantial feel. So like that. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'm just going to fold that in half, and then I'm going to glue it down on that back piece as well. So just going to hold it up to the light so I can see roughly where to put the glue. So, you know, this is now 2 pages thickness, which is really nice and sort of strong and sturdy. So like that. Okay, squish that down. And then again, just tear around that. Okay. I mean, like I say, I really like the torn edges. If you don't, then what you could probably do is actually, you know, fussy cut around this. Now, personally speaking, I wouldn't try and fussy cut this close to the images because, you know, this is a bit like that other one. They're tiny images and they are very fiddly and fussy. So what I would probably do is kind of kiss cut this around. So perhaps I'll do that just to demonstrate. So we've got it on the 2 bits of the book page, so it's a bit more robust. And then what I would do, I would just kiss cut. And for anybody who doesn't know what kiss cutting is, my understanding of kiss cutting is it's leaving an edge. So it just makes it a little bit easier when you've got images like this, which are, let's be honest, pretty fiddly to cut out. If you leave the edge, it just saves you having to go, you know, where there's a very thin, say like a stem for a flower or something, or like this one where I've got the arm of that creature. I don't know whether they're like fairies. I don't know what these are. Goblins maybe. You know, that would be then a very vulnerable point and possibly, you know, possibly just kind of like snap off, so, or tear off. So by leaving the white edge, it's giving you a bit more to play with, and let's be honest, makes it way easier to cut out. So, you know, it's a win-win. Oops, like that. So here where I've got that stem there, and then just cut here up there like that. Oops. Okay. Like that. My goodness. And then when you're kiss cutting like this, it's up to you really whether you go into the areas where you've got white space. And after I've finished cutting this out, I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. It maybe will depend on how easily you can get into those areas. So let me just quickly finish cutting this out, and then I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Obviously mine's a little bit on the soggy side at the moment because it's obviously got the 2 layers of glue, so you have to excuse that. So for example here, you've got that big area of space. It's up to you really when you're kiss cutting if you want to actually take your scissors right in and have like a tiny little opening there, or whether you leave it white. I think kind of sometimes it just depends how easy the access is to that area. So for example there, by the time that I've kiss cut in there and left a space, I might have eaten up the gap, if that makes sense. So that would kind of like sway me whether I'm likely to go into that area or not. But again, you know, it's all personal choice. And, you know, if you like to go into that area, then obviously that, you know, that's absolutely fine. There's no rules. It's just, yeah. And to be honest, it just varies piece to piece. Because like I say, sometimes, you know, you might have quite a big area of space in there, but still a small opening. And so what I would probably do then is just cut through the opening to get to it. And then when I glue it down, maybe I would glue the whole, you know, the opening back down as if it were closed, if that makes sense. So there we go. We've inked around. So now that white space has disappeared, even on the, you know, the big areas here. I don't think it's quite so obvious that we've got all that white around it. So, you know, they're just kind of like options and ways for you to play around cutting. Okay, so I've pulled in some patterned paper, and the other great thing when you're using the kids book images is this is your opportunity to use your vibrant bright papers. So I've taken this page here from my yellow roses. Now I'm not normally a really yellow you know, fan. I just kind of struggle to use it, but this is perfect for these. Now obviously this is a tall piece, so we could do something like make a belly band or something, or what we could do is make, for example, just a little fold-in pocket, something like this. So I'm just checking which way around I want it. Something like that. Okay, now you could stitch all of this around on the sewing machine like that, and then pop that on there. So I will probably cut this down, I think. so it's a bit more kind of in the size of the book image, so like that. Okay, so yep, like that. Now I'm going to just sort of glue mine just in 1 or 2 places, and then I will take it to the sewing machine. So I'm just going to literally glue it here just so it's held in place, and then I can remember what I was doing with it. If I don't actually glue it, I might forget, you know, what my initial plan was. So just glue those down. I won't take it to the sewing machine now because I don't want to be forever stopping and starting. But so now what I can do, I can decorate the whole thing up. Oops. Like that. Decorate the whole thing up, and then I'll be able to just take it to the sewing machine after to finish it off. So what I'll do, I'll stitch right around the whole edge of this, and then it's a, you know, complete pocket. So yep, I will put this on here. Now probably want to kind of see as much as I can of those roses, although unfortunately how I folded this in, I've missed the line here, which is a bit unfortunate. Now do we think this for this one, or oh no, that's not the right color, is it? So nope, but that's not too bad. Let me just see what else I've got in my bright colored ribbons. Oh, hang on a moment. Oh my goodness, this might just be absolutely gorgeous on here. I mean, I love a little bit of lime green, it has to be said. Or we could have it top and bottom, really. Well, that's annoying, isn't it? Because I haven't taken that to the sewing machine. Right, okay. That might mess this up a little bit. Let's just see what else I might put on here. So could kind of like put some little flowers coming out. Let me just see. I've got a whole bunch of fussy cut items here. Oh my goodness, just a few. Just a few. I've been really busy fussy cutting every single night for days and days now. So, well, maybe even a couple of weeks actually. Yeah, I've been fussy cutting for ages. So let's just see. Just wondering, I love a frame. Well, that's a bit strange, isn't it? But I wondered whether that might have looked cute. I mean, you could even mix it up with something like that. I mean, it's probably a bit strange, but just because I, yeah, really like the frames, to be honest. So, oops. But like I say, I think this is the, you know, the time that you can get out all of your most colourful items. So, you know, I'm actually quite surprised now of how long it is since I've done a children's book, because I love bright and colourful stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I do love this lime green, but it might not be quite the right one. I've got some other green. Hold on a moment. I've got this green. I don't think this is the right shade. No, it's not really the right shade, is it? That's a shame. Okay. Now, I do have some gingham in the lime, which, no, that's not right either. Oh, I tell you what I have just spotted. I've got some gingham in blue and yellow. What about that? Oh, I don't know. Isn't it annoying when you can't find the right thing? I mean, the other ones that go nice on children's books would be polka dots. So let me just see if I've got any polka dot in those types of colours. Okay, got a few different polka dots here. Hold on. Oops. Yeah, got a few different polka dots. Oh, no, there's no lilac on there whatsoever. I thought it might have brought out that colour from those hats on those things, but no, it's not really, has it? I've got this, which is this gorgeous sagey type green. maybe we might play it safe with that. It's got something on it. That's just messy glue on there. Got this blue. That's not really right, is it? Or I've got the pink. Well, there's not really anything pink on there either. So, oh, well, I've not done very well with those, have I? Hold on a moment. Okay, while I was rummaging around for my ribbons, I happened to find these, which were some decorative edge strips, which I had made previously. And I thought, actually, I love it on there. So I'm going to put it on there. Now, this is a little bit on the wide side, so I think I will tear this down like that. So, and when I call this a decorative edge strip, obviously, you know, you don't have to use it as an edge strip. It could be a, you know, belly band or something like that instead. But I had originally made it as a decorative edge strip. So, I mean, how gorgeous does that look on there? It goes pretty nicely on there, doesn't it? So I'm just going to then ink this up. Okay. Yeah, I just kind of spotted it and I thought, oh, actually, I really love this. So I spotted that, and then I had these fussy cut labels. This is from my Junk Journal Basics set 2, but I thought, oh, the blue, perfect on here. So could have some labels put on here, maybe poking out, maybe under. I think probably like that. So I'm just going to glue that on. Oops. Sorry, my glue, I've had to, you know, open it right out. There wasn't much left and it had all gone, you know, thick and gloopy in the bottom. So I've had to open the top out, and now, of course, it's really pouring out. So just had to dab it off a little bit. And then, yeah, pop that there. Now, again, going to put it here, and the ribbons that I've got, so I did dig out this red. Now I know there's no red on there, but bizarrely I think it kind of goes okay, because I think the red gingham, it's very sort of fairy story-ish, isn't it, and nursery rhymish. Or I've got this one, which actually, you know, is possibly a better match. So again, just checking whether I want to do anything different with this. No, I think I'm going to have it like that. So what you could do is have this as a belly band within a belly band, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to just glue it down here like that at the top and the bottom. Again, just dab that glue off because I've got an abundance of glue on there. Okay, and then just pop that on there like that. Okay, and yep, glue that down. Okay, just curling it round because the belly band, the decorative edge strip had sort of curled in on itself a little bit. So I just wanted to curl it back a bit so as it was a bit straighter like that. And then on here, I might just actually staple this on because I actually really like the look of staples, and especially on sort of kids journals or kids book image journals. I think the staples look really good because there's a little bit of a playful element with them. So just going to staple that 1, 2, whoops, 3. Oh, staple's not really in there. I think I was a bit quick to remove the stapler like that. Sorry if you can hear my son. He's home from work at the moment today because he's not feeling very well. He's not got out of bed for 2 days. So yeah, poor thing. But he's finally got up this morning and he said he's beginning to feel a bit better. So he's had a weird thing, bit of an upset tummy, and started with a headache and aching, you know, aches and pains. And then, yeah, he's kind of like deteriorated really. So he's ended up with an upset tummy and, yeah, just not really feeling very well at all. But strangely enough, touch wood, he's never ever ill. And I said to him, do you know, I can't actually remember the last time you were ill. And I feel like, weirdly, has he ever actually been ill? I mean, clearly he must have been ill, but yeah, I can't actually remember a time that he's actually even been ill. But he obviously has, but yeah, can't really remember a time. So again, I've put the butterfly sort of where the label is. I quite like that thing where they're all bunched up, you know, all the elements are bunched up near each other. I think that's quite cute. Now, going to bring in those flowers again. Oh, this is probably way too bright, but just wondered whether we could have had a flower in the middle of the butterfly. Maybe it needs just a smaller one. There. Or perhaps none. Perhaps no flower. But we could have maybe a flower or two just, you know, spaced up on the piece itself. So I wonder what other colours I've got. Oh yeah, I've got a yellow one. Oh, I think that's going to be too bright. Sometimes I like it when you get these flowers and they're stuck in together, so you have like a bonus. I mean, sometimes you get 3 that are stuck in together like that, which I love. So yeah, could even have that. No, can't really have it there, but yeah, maybe, or maybe there. Right, so just glue these down. So I always think you get quite a different look with the children's books to all the other journals, but I really do love using them. You know, they're really fun. And the other thing that I quite like using when I make children's books journals is the use of buttons, which I've talked about this before. I mean, I've got loads of buttons and for some reason always still a sucker and buy buttons, even though, let's be honest, quite often don't use them. But yeah, I do find myself buying them. So I've just got them beside my desk. I'm not saying that this goes quite right, but I mean, if I had a small button, which I probably have, then I could potentially put a button in that centre of that butterfly, you know, like where we often put the bling. We could have a button in the centre. So yeah, shall we do that? So finally, I'm actually using a couple of buttons. I mean, it's hardly like a big milestone. Oh, maybe that's a bit too big for that. Yeah, it might just be a bit too big, I think. But, you know, you could have it anywhere else, I suppose. Maybe the button's not quite the thing for that, but also maybe a bow. I always love to have a bow if I can. So, yeah. It's a little bit big for to go beside. That's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because I don't want to actually cover up this person's face. That's not really a person, but you know, that thing's face. Well, should we have it there? Yeah, let's just put it there. Otherwise it's a bit plain, isn't it? Heaven forbid that we will have plain pieces anywhere. So there we go. Like that. So it's just a little belly band with a belly band inside of it. So isn't that just so gorgeous? Okay, so that's those couple of bits there. Right, let's pull in some more pieces. Let me just get rid of this dirty sheet of book page. Okay, so another thing that I really quite like to do with children's books, and oh, I'm going to struggle now because I like both of these images, which is a bit of a shame. Oh, this is a shame. Right, okay, well, we're going to have to just do it, to be honest, because whenever I use this, I'm going to have the same issue. So, yeah, it doesn't really make any difference whether it's today or another day. So, if I have quite a big image like this, which is obviously really a bit too big to pop it onto like a pocket. So, what I quite like to do is just use this as a sort of tuck spot or a pocket in itself. So, I've got here a piece of paper that I've folded into half. So, this for me would be my average size journal page. So it's just an A4 sheet folded in half, so it's A5. So if I put that up there, I can see through the light how big this would be on a page. So it comes up like about there on the page, but it would probably be a little bit dominating to have in the, you know, in the middle of the page. So what I would probably do is cut this down and have some of it going off the page. And if I do that, then I've got this little fella here that I could probably then use somewhere else. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just take that there, like that, okay? And I'm just going to tear that. Oh, now it's torn into her, so, oh dear. Right, and then I'm going to just cut in like this. Now, I'm not going to fussy cut this out just yet. What I want to do is get it to a point where if I glue this down onto some book page to make it more robust, I know more where to put the glue. So I could either have like a bit of background, so I could have like, say, the tree. Probably won't have the dog, although I could have the dog. So let's just do it like this for a moment. Okay, so if I was going round here like this, not the house, but with the tree, take it in there like that, and then here, like that. Okay, so just where just so that I know roughly where I'm gluing. I mean, that would be a fabulous corner pocket, wouldn't it? So I like the fact that I can include the dog. So I'm going to just have that sort of cut along the edge, hopefully keeping the dog in there. So I'm going to just now, again, glue this onto some book page to sturdy it up. Okay, like that. Now I need a lot of glue. I did have somebody ask the other day, why do I use so much glue? Honestly, I just have a bit of a fear of things not being glued down properly. I mean, that's ridiculous because look at how much glue I'm using, as if they're not going to be stuck down properly. I mean, oh my goodness, there would be something severely wrong with my glue, wouldn't there? But no, I don't want to just glue around the edge and not glue the middle, because I don't want to have that sort of baggy, empty paper type vibe going on in the middle where I haven't actually glued it down properly. I hope that makes sense. So if I actually glue it everywhere, then I know it's definitely, you know, glued down and very secure and, you know, very robust. So I'm going to do a bit like what we did before, in that I'm going to double layer it. Okay, so I'm just pressing this down. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because this book page is not very thick. So I want to make sure this is nice and sturdy. Obviously, if I was gluing it onto book page that was a bit thicker, I perhaps could not bother gluing it down a second time. But because my book page is not very sturdy, I think it benefits from being glued down twice or stuck down twice. Okay, and again, I mean, it's just more evidence of my utter paranoia for it not gluing down properly, really. But there we go. So yeah, gluing that down like that. Okay, now I can turn it over and I can just quickly glue it down from the back as well, just to make sure that we're getting it pretty wrinkle free. Okie dokie, right, like that. Then I'm going to just quickly cut it across here, hopefully straightish, like that. Now I'm going to just cut around the dog. My goodness, that's pretty tricky, like that. Right, around her, and then just up to the fence, like that. Okay, and then just cut there. I mean, I just think when the book images are quite big like this, short of actually just always cutting out or, you know, tearing out like the faces, which, you know, you could do that and just pop them onto a pocket that you've made, but that just seems a little bit wasteful of the whole rest of the lovely images, isn't it? You know, to not have the whole images on there. So I quite like to just make the most of, you know, the whole images. So by thickening them up, we're actually sort of using the actual whole image itself rather than just a portion of it. Okay, like that. Okie dokie. Oops. Did cut a bit of her bow off there, but I don't think anyone will notice once we've cut around the whole thing. Right, like that, and then here, and then I'm just going to then cut that down there. Now I don't know how straight I've got that, if I'm truthful, but we'll measure it up to the page itself now. So, well, it's not too bad, to be honest. So if that were glued onto a page, that's then a little corner pocket. Now obviously mine is still very wet from the glue, so it's sort of got a bit of a, you know, wanting to bend up effect going on. It will flatten down, you know, and once that's dry it will just be quite sturdy and quite flat. But can you see there, that whole thing then is just a corner pocket. So what I would do, I would glue it on two sides and pop it down there. And then of course you could decorate that up with, again, maybe some ribbon or something like that in the corner. I wouldn't go right the way across because I don't want to cover up the dog's little face. You could then pop maybe some labels or something. I'm just seeing whether I've got any labels that would be a good colour. I'm not sure about that one, but let's just see if I've got anything sort of brighter. You could have a book plate on there, something like that. And then of course you could definitely have, you know, butterflies and things like that on there. And you could even, you know, dress her up with maybe, for example, a flower on her clothes and things like that. You know, working with what's there. So you could put like a little flower on her dress or something. You could put maybe a flower on her hat or on her hat, something like that. You know, you could then kind of give it some character with the accessories that you would then be using. So let me just ink this up a little bit. Okay. Here with the dog. There we go. And then, yeah, let's have a look. I'm actually wondering whether I might want some sari silk on this one. Maybe some of that beautiful green colour that I really do love using. Or could have it down this side, I guess, to be honest. That might be quite fun. Let me just pull in the page again. So I'm just picturing if this were on a page, you could either have it there or could have it along the bottom. Or could, you know, could even have it sort of at a curve. I think probably along the bottom would be better. So just move that out of the way. This is quite a slim piece of sari silk. It's some that I've torn in half. So just spread that out. Okay, and then, like I say, I mean, I don't want to go the whole way along because I don't want to cover up that cute dog. So I'll just do a bit here, like that. Oops. Like that. I mean, how cute does that look? Now, I'm not sure what nursery rhyme this was. Oh, what's the news? I mean, I don't know what that nursery rhyme is, to be honest, but what's the news of the day? Good neighbour, I pray. So, well, we could have what's the news. So we maybe could have that on the image itself. So just take that like that. Oops. Oh, I mean, I've not done a good job of cutting that, but you could have something like that on there, and you could put, you know, like a label on there or something to, so if I did here, you could have it on the label, something like that would be quite cute. So, I mean, I've not heard of that nursery rhyme, so that's throwing me off a little bit, and I'm not really liking those sentiments. Let me just see whether I've got a title from something else that might be more fun. Patty cake, no. Trying to think what might sort of sound okay with this. What about... I mean, I don't know what Little Polly Flinders is. Boys and girls come out to play. Little Betty Blue. Right, let's have that. I don't know what that is either. I haven't actually heard of a lot of these, to be honest. Oh, that's a shame because I'm going to cut through that other image, but that's okay. Yeah, weird. I haven't actually heard of a lot of these nursery rhymes, so obviously got really rubbish nursery rhyme knowledge. I just didn't really like that. What's the news of the day? It sounded a bit rubbish, to be honest. Yeah. Right, so let's do Little Betty Blue. So again, I might just quickly thicken these up by putting them down on some extra book page. I'm not that keen on things just being flat, you know, because I don't think they make much of a statement if they're just flat on the page. So I prefer to have them thicker, where they will obviously, you know, have more impact. Okay, so those, and then I'm just going to again glue them down on a second layer like that. Okay, like that. Okie dokie, and we'll just cut those out. Oops. Okay, just snip that down. One, two. Okay, right. Let's just ink these up a bit. Okay. Whoa! Oh my goodness! Can you see what's going on here? I'm really like struggling to get to grips with that. Right. So that there. Just check that we want it on there. I mean, you could have it obviously just on there like that. I think it makes a lot more of a statement to have it just on for example, like this label. So having that label there and then having it on there, I'm sorry if you can hear that siren, having that label there, it's just making it look more impactful, isn't it? And giving it a bit more interest. So I'm going to just glue the label down. And this is just one of the labels from the, again, I'm just going to dab that glue off, from the green architecture, kind of like buildings set. Okay, that one. And then we might even be able to put that on a tiny weeny bit of lace, but I mean, it's very fiddly. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm having a day where I'm struggling with fiddly things, but just have a little tiny bit there, and then oh, I'm now doing it again. Glutton for punishment today. Yep. Oops. Like that. Oh my goodness, come on. Oh. I mean, I could do with having some nails, to be honest, because then I would find things a bit easier to pick up, perhaps. Well, maybe we'll just have it like that. So the first one, not on lace, but the second one on the lace. So just put the top there like that, and then Betty Blue. Oh, let me know below, have you heard of these nursery rhymes? Am I the only person who's not heard of them? Okay, and that one like that. Oh my goodness, how cute does this look? And then, yeah, could put the butterfly somewhere. You know, I'm kind of feeling like, or to be honest, the butterflies might be a bit too big actually. This might be a place for my Martha Stewart butterflies, which I haven't used for a while. So yeah, I always love the opportunity to use these. So let's try one. Oops, let's try one or two of these. Ah, that's better, I think. So yeah, could have that, or maybe just have that sort of buzzing about by the dog. Okay, like that. And then have I got that other little pearl that I used earlier? Thought I had another one. Oh, I now can't see one. That's annoying. Right, let's try a little bit of a gem then. Oops. There we go. Just to kind of make that stand out a bit more, really. Oh my gosh. I don't know whether I got the glue on there really or just on my fingers. But oh well. There we go. So yeah, that is quite cute, doesn't it? And then do we need anything else on there? Could have a bow or something, I don't know. Again, you could have maybe some ribbon coming out, like a little tassely bit from the bottom. I mean, that obviously would hang out from your journal, but hey, I mean, I think that's quite cute. But yeah, something like that. Let's just see. Got a bow. Oh, well, that's a shame, isn't it? If I'd have moved those words over slightly more, I could have had that there. Could have it there on that piece, I suppose. Could have it there. Could have it at the end of here. Oh, perhaps we'll have it here. Yeah. Right, again, need to be a bit careful that I don't just cover up those words completely, because very easily done. Oh gosh, even as I'm saying it, I have nearly done it. Well, I kind of have done it a little bit. You can still see a bit of the word. So yeah, I mean, how cute does that look? So just again, pulling in the page, and I'm not saying it would go on this blue page, obviously, but you know, that's how that would look on a journal. And I would just have glue here and glue here to put that down as a little corner tuck like that. So it's super cute, isn't it? Really lovely. And I love the fact that that's just literally using the page itself as the, you know, as the pocket. So, you know, we've not, sorry, I'm just going to get rid of this gluey page. We've not stuck a piece onto a pocket. That is the pocket, which is, you know, really, really cute, isn't it? Right, I'm going to have a flick through these and find another one. Okay, so I've picked this page. Now, again, you know, this is obviously double-sided, but I wasn't so keen on this side, so I've picked this one. There are elements of this that it's going to kill me to get rid of. So, like this bird, I just love, but yeah, it's not going to make it into the finished pockets, unfortunately. So another thing that you can obviously do is just make a little coin envelope and things from your book pages if they're quite big images. So all you'd actually do is obviously fold them in, keeping the part of the image showing that you want to be shown. Now, obviously you need to have enough to actually glue it over. So, but you don't need tons. So I'm just thinking down there. And then probably, yeah, about there. So I might have actually kept that bird in. Now, I have kept the bird in, although I think I'm still going to be cutting it off. Well, it depends. Yeah, I mean, I probably will be cutting it off because I probably would take it down to there. In which case, I'm then wondering, do I want to have this narrower? More kind of this size. Yeah, I think I probably do. Oh, that's such a shame because I'm going to now be getting rid of that little cat as well. Gutting. Right, like that. Yeah, that's kind of better, isn't it? So like that. Now I'm just going to fold it up roughly where I want the bottom to be. So like this. Okay. Like that, and then I will cut it off here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, I think, fold it down first because I'm going to reinforce this so it's thicker. So I'm going to just fold it down here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take it off here. Like that. Just to slither off each side. And then I'll take the back off. Now, I probably have not done this very straight, it's got to be said. Never very good at cutting along a fold. I can just get rid of this as well. And I like to miter the corners in like that. And if you're missing any of what I'm doing, I do have tutorials for, you know, all of these kinds of things. So I mean, here we're making a coin pocket, a coin envelope. You know, we've done these in the mass making, so you could find the slower, more in detail tutorial on the coin envelopes on my mass making sessions. So like that. And then here we're just going to snip across. I mean, to be honest, actually, I'm now thinking, why did I snip that across? We could have had that folded in and reinforced that as well. So yeah, scrap that. I made a mistake. I should have folded that in. Yeah, I should have folded that in. I don't know why it didn't really occur to me to do that. So yeah, I'm going to have to now reattach this, which not brilliant. Wish I'd spotted that first, but yeah, never mind. Better late than never. So going to just pop this. Oh, in fact, I'm not going to bother them. Yeah, I'm not going to bother. We'll just have it reinforced on one side. So taking this down here and also this piece here, just to reinforce that thickness of these two. So there, like that. And then this one like that. Oops. Okay, right. And this comes in. This will go over. So I'm going to trim down quite a bit. So I'm going to just cut this raggedy edge off. Like that. And then this I'm just going to take down here like that. Okay. So then that's going to tuck in there like that. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to glue this side down now. Sorry, I'm on the last few bits of my glue now. On the last bits of my glue now. So yeah, now again I'm just going to mop this up because my glue nozzle obviously. And I like to glue the outside of the edge that's going to be on the top and then the inside of the edge that's going to be on the inside, if that makes sense. So that it's, you know, it's glued down on both vulnerable spots. So like that, press that down. Okay. And then take up the foldy bit at the back. Looking good, looking good. Like that. Okay, so what you've got there is just a very basic coin envelope. Now, obviously you could put a thumb hole in the top or something like that if you wanted. I don't think I'm going to, because I quite like, you know, quite like the picture, and then I'm likely to misjudge it and end up, you know, punching my thumb hole down below her face or into her face, you know, which is obviously not great. So I'm going to just decorate her up a little bit. So I'm going to use my glue here rather than the staples, because I don't want to staple the bottom of my bag, although to be honest it wouldn't really matter because it's quite tall. So yeah, perhaps I will staple it. I think I can get away with it because, like I say, the actual bag is quite tall, you know, because I wanted to get the maximum picture in. So like that. Okay, oops. Now, I quite like my ribbon quite ruffly, you know, sort of rather than too smooth. So I'm going to sort of intentionally try and get it looking uneven, if that makes sense. So, you know, I don't want it kind of looking like I've placed it down there in folds. I want it to look more, yeah, more ruffled. So like that. So I've just gone off a little bit at this end. There we go. I mean, I think the folds are fine, but I think this is a bit more of a fun sort of look. So yeah, like that. And oops, some staples there. Right, let's see what we would like to have on here. So we could have a book plate or something on here. Definitely, I think we can definitely have a bit of lace going across the top. Now, I've got this, which is coffee dyed lace, which I think is really nice. We could have something a bit more colourful if I've got some. Let's see that I've got. Oh, I've got this crochet lace. That might be quite pretty. Yeah, I just wondered whether we could maybe have something a bit more coloured. So maybe that across the top. I don't know now. Because I think, you know, using the children's books, it is an opportunity to use your colourful things. You know, because the book images are already colourful, you can then obviously add more colour with your accessories and your bits and pieces. So, you know, why wouldn't you do that? There we go. Pop that down like that. And then just going to snip that off on the edge. Okay. So, I mean, not only have we reinforced that, you know, with the paper, but it's also reinforced now with the lace as well. So, I mean, that opening now is much stronger than had it just been obviously single page. So, yeah, I like to robust it up if I can. Now, just looking, the rest of that book page, did we use all of that book page? We must have done. We must have done, because I can't see it anywhere. Although, to be honest, that means nothing. I might have just lost it. So, yeah, we could have something like this. Could have a little journal plate to the side. Could have a ticket even maybe poking out there. That's probably a bit weird. Yeah, probably a bit on the weird side. Let's have a label. Oops. Just seeing what things I've got here, because I've just tipped out a bunch of fussy cut pieces, you know, so I've got a selection of stuff. And I have got a selection of stuff, but weirdly none that looks like it's the right colours. I mean, that's just so typical, isn't it? So typical. Okay. So, I mean, this is quite nice. This is from my country cottages, and it's quite whimsical looking in these colours. It's got sort of a rainbowy colour. So I think what I'm going to do is just tear that down to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, just ink that up a bit. Oh, that looks very pretty, doesn't it? Now I'm just wondering what we could do is have that. What did I do with that book plate? There we go. Could even have that in the book plate. That's quite cute, isn't it? And maybe even a bit of lace coming out beneath it. So I'm going to glue this on. It's just about the layers really. So, you know, we're using the book plate, which obviously says notes, but just for sort of added interest, I'm just layering up another layer. So, oops, put that down there like that. I mean, I think that looks, you know, more interesting, doesn't it, by having the layers. So, you know, it's not much effort, but it makes quite a big impact. So, thinking of butterfly. Yeah, maybe that one there. Okay. Just put that there. And then again, you know, could use some buttons or something like that. I don't know. We didn't think that the button looked very good, did we, in the centre of the butterfly, if I recall. So yeah, probably best not to use the button in the centre of the butterfly. Oh, just got some pearly, not pearly. What am I talking about? It's because I was thinking, oh, what did I do with that pearly trim? So we could just put like a little flower down there. Just looks, it's sort of cute and whimsical, doesn't it? Having like the little flower. And then, you know, maybe another one up there or something. Oops. Yeah, I think you can just be quite fun with the book pages, you know, just any old any old fun bits, you know, or any old bright things that you've got just can look really cute on them, can't they? So yeah, I mean, do we want anything else, or do we think that's enough? I mean, what you could do is even, you know, and this might be really rubbish, but you could have a little bow tied around, just for sort of added interest, really. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a functional thing because it's not an opening piece, but if you wanted to have something just extra, you know, you could just do something like that just around the middle of there, which looks quite cute, doesn't it? I'm not necessarily saying that piece, and I'm not necessarily saying that thickness. Maybe if I had a thinner piece of sari silk, you know, we could just tie that around the middle, but just things like that, you know, for extra sort of options. So that's probably all that we've actually got time for, to be honest. But hopefully that's given you some ideas as to how to use your children's book images in your junk journals. You can really go to town with these. You can use them, you know, using lots of your older supplies, like I say, any bright and colourful things, you know. And I would personally put all of these in the same journal. So even though ordinarily I would say I'm a bit more matchy and I wouldn't perhaps have this yellowy one in the same journal as like this one, because, you know, they're not the same sort of colour schemes. But because they are all nursery rhyme, I would put them in the same journal, you know, because I think they would then go quite nicely and complement it quite well. You know, obviously they could go on plain coffee dyed pages or food colour pages, anything like that. That would look absolutely lovely, you know. I've got here, for example, some craft card. If that was just a craft coloured page, that would look fine. It would, you know, it would look super pretty. Could obviously put some lace going down the edge of the page and things, you know, decorate it up. You could maybe kind of like put, I don't know, a bow up there and things like that to pretty that page up. Or you could, of course, use some patterned paper. So just giving you a couple of ideas here. So, for example, this one is from my Peacock Palace. Please excuse the fact that it's not borderless. My printer is really playing up at the moment. But how pretty does that look on that paper? It just complements it perfectly, doesn't it? Looks absolutely gorgeous. Then, you know, another example here. This is from my Vintage Desk set 2, I think it is. How beautiful does that look? Just popped on the corner of that page. So, you know, play around and experiment with the pages that you would put these on, because to be honest, they might be the most unexpected pages. I mean, who would have thought that that would look gorgeous on there? But it definitely does, doesn't it? It really works. I don't know whether this would look so good. Oh, it still looks fine, to be honest. So, in fact, I love it against that red. So definitely experiment with the pages and the papers that you're using. I mean, this here, this is my Regency era collection. So, again, I mean, I actually think that looks pretty cool on there. So do play around. Don't be afraid to kind of like experiment. I don't think this will look very good on here. No, not necessarily. But this one hopefully will, because we've got the bright sort of limey green colours. So, you know, experiment with the papers and things that you're going to have in the backgrounds. And if you have used, you know, for example, craft coloured card or coffee dyed paper or something, don't be afraid to then tear up or cover some parts of the page with, for example, this. Or let's bring in this one. Hold on. For example, here. Not that one. What did we say did look good? Okay, this. You could always have a little bit of this onto the craft coloured page. So, you know, just experiment around with adding some pattern papers onto your plain pages, because whilst that, you know, that looks fine, I think once you put it onto some patterned papers, definitely they come alive, don't they? And that looks very, very interesting now. So yeah, I hope that you've got some tips. I hope that that was helpful. I'm going to carry on working with my book images and hopefully kind of either make enough to fill a journal or possibly a kit to put into my shop. But yeah, hope this has given you some really great ideas to use your children's book images. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know below which one you liked best and which colour background paper you like them on. And hey, if it's the craft colour card, that would be fine too. So yeah, let me know what you think. And I would really appreciate a big thumbs up for this video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing to my channel. Thanks so much then. Bye.